Kirk Herbstreit explains why he can't imagine Alabama falling out of the top 4 in the CFP rankings, even if the Tide face Georgia in the SEC championship game and lose. 21. Nick Saban told reporters this week that he couldn't care less about the first college football playoff selection committee rankings, but nobody will blame him if he gives a sideways glance at the top 4. For motivational purposes. Of course, Georgia took the No. 1 spot in the rankings released Tuesday night, ahead of SEC stalwart Alabama. The Bulldogs have the better overall RSUM and the better win over No. 3 Notre Dame. As such, the rankings are justifiable based on the criteria the committee uses to evaluate teams. But Saban loves to find ways to get his players' attention. Remember what happened to Vanderbilt when the Commodores thought they might have a chance earlier this season. Alabama won 59-0. How about Ole Miss, the team that had given the Tide problems the past several seasons? Alabama won 66-3. If positive press is rat poison, then perhaps this No. 2 ranking could be a slight that Saban uses to his advantage. Nick Saban finds his team in an unfamiliar spot, ranked No. 2. AP Photo, John Bosmore. As for the rest of the top 4, the committee opted for Notre Dame at No. 3 and Clemson at No. 4, ahead of 1-loss Oklahoma and 1-loss Ohio State. Notre Dame has posted 2 impressive back-to-back wins over ranked teams USC and NC State. The Irish's body of work helps, too. They are 7th in strength of schedule, and their only loss came by 1 point to undefeated Georgia. Clemson, with 6 wins over Power 5 teams that are 500 or better, has the advantage in overall body of work, despite the loss to Syracuse. 4-4. The Tigers are the top-ranked 1-loss team in the ESPN strength of record metric, and they have played the 3rd toughest schedule among FBS teams so far this season, with wins over 2 top 25 teams, Virginia Tech, Auburn. Overall, the case for the top 4 is easy to make, but Ohio State and Oklahoma have arguments of their own, and they could use this first ranking for motivation. Let's start with the No. 6 Buckeyes. Ohio State had the most impressive win of the weekend with a come-from-behind victory over the No. 2 Penn State 39-38, behind Georgia's win over Notre Dame. That victory over the Nittany Lions stands as the best one among the top 10 teams. If Ohio State runs the table, it has a valid argument to be in the top 4. Editors picks UGA tops Tide in first CFP. Irish. Clemson follow Georgia takes the top spot in the season's first college football playoff ranking, ahead of fellow SEC unbeaten Alabama. Notre Dame, Clemson, Oklahoma and Ohio State follow. What the CFP and New Year's 6 would look like if they were played today. Georgia checked in at No. 1, ahead of Alabama, in the first CFP rankings. That means the Bulldogs would play Clemson in the Sugar Bowl, while the Tide would get Notre Dame in the Rose Bowl. 1 related, but so would Oklahoma, the team in the No. 5 spot, thanks to a head-to-head win over Ohio State in Week 2. After losing to Iowa State earlier in the season, the Sooners appeared to be on the outside looking in, but their win doesn't look so bad now that the Cyclones have emerged as one of the biggest surprises this college football season. Oklahoma just needs a team ranked ahead to lose and to run the table. And voila, perhaps another playoff appearance. After all, only 7 of the eventual 12 playoff teams of the past 3 seasons were ranked in the first top 4. What about the other unbeaten teams? There's plenty of motivation there, too. No. 9 Wisconsin and No. 10 Miami have won all their games. In college football worlds of the past, that used to count for more. But given the evaluation of overall schedule and strength of wins, both teams will have a hard time convincing many that their overall bodies of work are as impressive as those of some of the one-loss teams ranked ahead of them. Still, there are opportunities. What if Wisconsin ends up as an undefeated Big Ten champion despite a weaker RSUM? Miami hasn't beaten a top 25 team either, but could add 2 to its RSUM the next 2 weekends, with home games against No. 13 Virginia Tech and No. 3 Notre Dame. Say the Hurricanes beat Clemson in the ACC championship game for 3 top 25 wins in an undefeated season. It would be tough for the committee to leave Miami out. Having said that, it's easy to get overexcited about the first ranking, and it's important to keep perspective. This is the 4th straight season that featured 2 SEC teams in the first ranking. But we have yet to see multiple teams from one conference represented in the final ranking. Even so, this first one gives a snapshot of what the committee could face in the weeks to come. What if Alabama and Georgia go undefeated and meet in the SEC championship game? What if Notre Dame ends up with 1 loss? Would the committee put 2 teams from one conference, plus an independent, in and leave 3 Power 5 conferences out? This is what makes debate so fun. In the grand scheme, these first rankings won't amount to much. It's the final rankings that matter most. On the other hand, Saban has exactly what he needs to give his team yet another edge.